I didn't know a single audio message could permanently change how I saw my entire family. When my sister sent me a secret recording of our parents talking about me behind my back, she thought she was finally putting me in my place. She thought she was humiliating me. What she didn't realize was that the message she sent would end up exposing far more than she intended, and it would backfire in a way she never saw coming. If you've ever felt like the problem child in your family, the one who's always told they're too sensitive or dramatic or difficult, this story might feel uncomfortably familiar. Because this wasn't just about a recording, it was about favoritism, control, and what happens when someone tries to hurt you by showing you the truth. Growing up, my family looked normal from the outside. Two parents, two daughters, a clean house, family photos on the wall. Nothing that would make anyone suspect anything was wrong. But inside that house, there was a dynamic that never needed to be spoken out loud. Everyone could feel it. My sister, who I'll call Rachel, was the favorite. She always had been. Rachel knew how to agree with our parents without really trying. She shared their opinions, their values, their way of seeing the world. She knew when to speak, when to stay quiet, and how to make herself look responsible and mature even when she wasn't. I was different. I asked questions. I pushed back. I didn't automatically accept things just because an authority figure said so. Over time, that made me the difficult one. No one ever sat me down and said, "We like your sister more than you." They didn't have to. It showed in how arguments went, how punishments were handed out, how mistakes were forgiven for her and remembered forever when I made them. Rachel was the good daughter. I was the one who caused stress. I told myself things would change when we became adults. I assumed that once we were grown, the old roles would fade away. But they didn't. If anything, they became more subtle and more damaging. Rachel stayed very close to her parents. She talked to them constantly, visited often, and seemed to always know what was going on in their lives. I moved away and built my own life. I thought the distance would protect me. For a while, it worked. We weren't close, but we were civil. Family gatherings were polite, text messages were short and surface level. I convinced myself that this was just what adult sibling relationships looked like sometimes, that not being close didn't mean there was a problem, it just meant we were different people. Everything changed when money entered the picture. There was a quiet disagreement in our family about future plans and promises that had been made years earlier. Nothing dramatic, no shouting, just conversations that kept going in circles. Things my parents had once spoken about confidently were suddenly misremembered or taken out of context. When I tried to talk about it, I was told I was overthinking, being emotional, or creating problems where there didn't need to be any. Rachel, unsurprisingly, sided with them every time. She spoke with a confidence that caught my attention. It wasn't concern, it wasn't neutrality, it was certainty, like she already knew how everything was going to end. Then, on a completely ordinary evening, my phone buzzed with a message from her. There was no greeting, no small talk, just an audio file and a single sentence underneath it. "Thought you deserved to hear what they really say when you're not around." I felt my stomach drop. I stared at my phone for a long time before pressing play. Part of me already knew that whatever was on that recording was going to hurt, but another part of me needed to know. I needed to hear it for myself. The recording started in the middle of a conversation. My parents' voices were relaxed, casual, almost cheerful. They were talking about me. Not angrily, not emotionally. They sounded comfortable, like this was a conversation they'd had many times before. My dad said I was ungrateful, that I always saw myself as a victim, that I thought I was smarter than everyone else and couldn't take responsibility for anything. My mom added that I was too emotional to ever really succeed, that I burned bridges and then blamed other people when things didn't work out. Then she laughed. It wasn't nervous or awkward. It was amused, like my life and my struggles were something to joke about. When the recording ended, I just sat there staring at the wall. I felt numb. I wasn't even crying yet. It felt like something inside of me had gone quiet. A few seconds later, another text from Rachel came through. "Now you know why things are the way they are." Then another message. Maybe hearing it straight will finally humble you. That was the moment it clicked. This wasn't concern, this wasn't honesty, this was a threat. She was reminding me that I wasn't in control, that the people whose approval I'd been trying to earn for years had already made up their minds about me. She wanted me to feel small. I didn't respond. Not that night, not the next morning. I left the messages on read and sat with the recording instead. At first, I listened to it emotionally. I cried. I replayed my childhood in my head and wondered what I could have done differently. Then, slowly, something shifted. I stopped listening with my heart and started listening with my head. I noticed details, the context of what they were talking about, the timing, the specific things they referenced. This wasn't just a cruel conversation, it connected directly to the recent family dispute. It explained decisions that never made sense to me before. It showed exactly how they talked about me when they thought I wasn't listening. Rachel thought she had exposed me. What she had actually done was expose them and herself. She also forgot something important. Once you send something like that, you can't take it back. So while she kept sending smug follow-up messages, making comments about how quiet I'd become and how the truth must hurt, I was doing something else. I shared the recording, but not publicly and not impulsively. I shared it with people who were directly involved in the decisions that had been made without me, people who had been told a very different version of events. The reaction was immediate. Questions started coming up. Conversations shifted. Suddenly, I was being included in discussions I'd previously been shut out of. The tone changed completely. Rachel noticed. She called me and she didn't bother with pleasantries. She went straight into anger. She accused me of trying to cause drama, of tearing the family apart, of betraying everyone's trust. I let her talk until she ran out of breath. Then I said one simple sentence. "You're the one who sent it to me." There was silence on the line. Real silence, not the kind where someone is about to argue back, but the kind where they realize they've lost control of the situation. After that, she tried to backtrack. She said she was only trying to be honest. She said I had taken it the wrong way. She said I had no right to share something private. But none of that mattered anymore. The truth was already out, and once people hear something like that, they don't forget it. My parents tried damage control too. They said the conversation was taken out of context, that they were just venting, that everyone says things they don't mean sometimes. But the recording didn't sound like venting. It sounded practiced, familiar, like something they'd said before. What really broke Rachel wasn't being confronted, it was losing her role. She was no longer the favored messenger. She wasn't the one controlling the narrative. She was just another person who made a mistake and couldn't undo it. Weeks later, she reached out again, this time calmer. She said she was sorry if the recording had hurt me. Not sorry she sent it, not sorry she used it as a weapon, just sorry that I reacted badly to it. That told me everything I needed to know. I didn't cut my family off in some dramatic way. I didn't make announcements or issue ultimatums. I just stepped back. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped trying to be understood by people who had already decided who I was. Because once you hear how people talk about you when they think you're not listening, you can't unhear it. And once you see how easily someone uses the truth to hurt you, you stop trusting them with your vulnerability. So I want to know what you would have done. If your sibling sent you a recording like that, would you confront them, expose the truth, or walk away completely? Let me know in the comments. And if this story felt familiar in any way, make sure to like and subscribe, because sometimes the message meant to break you is the one that finally sets you free.